Welcome to the Strength for Endurance News, or the SFE News as we're going to be calling it moving forwards. Guys, whether you have been following us for a short time or for a long time, you'll know that we work within the endurance community. We are strength and conditioning providers, predominantly working with people from doing their first 5K all the way through to doing their first 100K. But this word endurance, it incorporates so much. And we've had the pleasure of working with multiple different people over the years in all realms of endurance, from running through to triathlon, through to cross-country skiing, open water paddleboarding, open water swimming, climbing, hiking. It incorporates so much. But guys, understanding the benefits of strength and conditioning, understanding how it can benefit you, the person, the individual. This is what we've been championing for the best part of 10, 15 years now. And it's something obviously close to our heart, what we do, because we've lived it. Our story in brief, if you don't know, that I'm a strength and conditioning coach. My wife was the professional triathlete in the family, and we lived abroad for a time, lived in Australia, and we lived the lifestyle. Working in multiple gyms as a personal trainer, as a coach, and then obviously Polly was competing pretty much training full time, competing very regularly. And just moving from event to event, our social circle being predominantly endurance athletes, very quickly realised that there's a massive hole in this training approach here, where there's no real understanding of the benefits of strength and conditioning. What does it look like? How do you integrate it into a very, very highly populated training program? And that's how it began, guys. And we were moving from event to event, living the lifestyle, and really understanding what that demand is on the body, and how can we prevent some of these reoccurring themes within endurance, which is overtraining symptoms, which is pain, injury, and actually leveraging more out of the body by working smarter, not harder. Because volume and intensity are just two variables that we want to work with, but understanding how you can, where you're strong, where you're weak, what exercise you could be doing in the gym space that you could be then leveraging more out of your body without having to put massive amounts of volume into it. These are things that were just just not even considered. And so, as you imagine, 10, 15 years ago, it was a hard sell. Strength and conditioning, there were many myths, many misconceptions, a lot of barriers, and it was tough. I won't lie to you. It was one of those things where, when you know this, because as a strength and conditioning coach, you just see it every day. No matter who you're working with, whatever sport they want to do, if you work on their physiology and we iron out any of those kind of areas of weakness, you're going to see that translate into the ability to be able to be more stable in the joint, have more strength, more power, more speed. And this is then going to translate into the sports that you want to play. So, and obviously in terms of longevity, that's the game we're playing, guys. I think most of us within this space want to train and want to just live this active lifestyle for as long as possible. And the baseline of that, the foundation of that, guys, will always be the level of strength and conditioning that you hold and that you can maintain. And if you pick up injuries, how do you move past those quickly? Well, it's going to be putting work back into your body. So, guys, the channel is very much going to be and the news show is going to be very much about talking about what's going on in the endurance community. We've got a finger on the pulse because we're all the people that we work with. Loved, guys, to hear what you're up to and what events you've got coming up. What does your training space look like? Are you doing much strength and conditioning? What questions you have? Love to kind of start deep diving into those areas with you and to hear what you guys are up to. But guys, as we move forwards, we're going to be checking out what's coming up in the endurance world this week. All right, guys, so we're going to check out what has been going on within the endurance communities over this last couple of weeks. And let's kick it off with UTMB. I was literally glued to the laptop this last week or so with the multiple different events going on. We had a couple of one of our coaches over there, and we've had a couple of athletes taking part in numerous different events. But guys, the big standout has to be Courtney Dauwalter completing the big three, Big Rock, Western States, and now UTMB for the third time. Just something truly remarkable to witness and to truly understand the physiological demands that she is able to just absorb. It's just, it cannot be understated. And obviously as a sports scientist and as a physiologist, I'm fascinated to know her makeup, her genetic makeup, because it's just amazing to witness someone be able to tolerate that type of work. But guys, just amazing. And what an ambassador she is for the sport, just taking it in her stride, you know, her smile, sunglasses on, you know, the way she is, she's a fantastic ambassador for it. So massive congrats to Courtney. And Jim Walmsley, obviously winning it for the first time, first American in the 20-year history. And obviously I think it's his 5th attempt that he was going for, and I think there's a few DNFs that were in there as well. So, you know, to put it down finally and to get it done, amazing, absolutely amazing. And then a couple of notes on the competition as I was watching it. Christian Mayer, ex-pro tour rider, tying up getting the TDS win there. Fascinating to see someone transition from one elite sport into another, essentially. And yeah, I mean, just kind of showcases the sort of abilities that people can you know, that are translatable across. And it's something that we'll talk about, guys, at some point, where when you're moving from cycling into running, like there are a lot of struggles, a lot of issues there, because you know the demands are different. The aerobic base is going to be there essentially, but the demands being obviously running being more of a high impact sport, it's also going to be open to kind of everyone's going to tolerate that type of work differently. And the fact that he's absorbed that type of work, it's testament to his physiology and potentially his training approach. Love to know what he's doing in terms of his S&C, and we'll find out, maybe we can find out more about that in the future. But yeah, fascinating one. And just a quick note on Tom Evans. Obviously, he was a bit of a UK fan favourite going into it, having won Western States, but I think he had to pull out with some pretty severe cramping. And I know his partner was actually posted about that recently as well. But all the best to you, Tom. Hope you're going well, mate. Guys, what we have going on at the moment elsewhere here in the UK, we've got the Montane Dragonsback, and we've got a couple of our guys doing that. What an event that is! 6-day, multi-day ultra event across 380k, running down pretty much running from north to south down through Wales. Guys, what an event! And I believe the weather is pretty much going to be similar to last year, where it's going to be a pretty hot week for them. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to test them, especially after such an average summer that we've had here in the UK. So good luck to everyone at Dragonsback. We've got the Ironman World Championships coming up in Nice. This is going to be it's got another stacked field, and it's going to be great to see a couple of those big hitters and see how it all kind of unfolds. And then obviously we've got the women's coming up in October. So again, I don't know if you guys are aware, but they've obviously split the fields, and one's taking part in Nice, France, and the other one's going to be obviously back over in Kona. So yeah, it's going to be great to see the fields this year, and it's anyone's guess. I mean, after seeing the 70.3 World Championships, seeing some of these new names coming through, it's going to be an interesting field to watch, and it just makes for great competition. So next up, guys, we'll be looking at a current research paper that's been making the headlines all over social media, within the kind of health practitioner space and within the sports science community. And guys, it's asking, can we really say getting stronger makes your tendon feel better? And it's practically saying that there's no current evidence that kind of shows whether prescription of calf raises is going to help with those Achilles tendinopathy, and whether rest and just time is going to be the best thing for people. Guys, you'll have your own opinion, and obviously leave it in the comments below. But when it comes to this type of research, it can be, the problem we have SFE, is that it can be massively empowering and disempowering for different people, but it can also be incredibly confusing. And this is the manipulation of information again. Understanding, guys, that you've got to educate yourself and have a greater understanding on the why behind the issue that you've got. And it's one of the big things that we press a lot at SFE. Within any of our training programming, it's understanding the education, the science behind things. And obviously I can say it openly, because I did a sports science degree, and I've immersed myself in this stuff for decades now. But it still doesn't mean you can't understand that a lot of people simply focus too much on the symptom and not enough on the problem. And it's something that is being done still in this day and age, which is quite an archaic approach, where just because you've got a pain in one said place, it doesn't mean that we then have to just work on that one place. You've got to understand the why behind that pain. What's gone on in your lifestyle, in your training lifestyle leading up to this? Have you got previous injuries? What does your training program look like? What's your relationship with recovery? Do you have any significant areas of weakness? Have you identified these within your strength and conditioning programming? Do you do any strength and conditioning? These are the kind of real big critical questions you want to be asking yourself, because this helps break down the conversation that's being had around these types of papers. You know, we know that papers can be potentially, you know, like the sample sizes are small, so it's a small demographic they're working with. The demographic is, you know, is old, it's young, it's male, it's female, whatever. But what we don't want to be doing, guys, is being caught up in the kind of the narrative and getting kind of drawn away from doing some of the most important things that you can be doing for yourself, which is making sure that you are holistically strong from top to bottom. You know, making sure that you don't have any obvious areas of weakness, because when it comes to things like Achilles tendinopathy, plantar fascial issues, knee pain, back pain, hamstring pain, first and foremost, do you have any obvious areas that you're aware that you're not good in? Lack of mobility, lack of like basic conditioning in your hamstrings and your calves. Like, you know, when was the last time you did some basic plyometrics? And you know, do you land like an elephant or do you land like a cat? Like simple things, guys, but this helps unpick this type of information. And this is obviously what we do at Strength and Endurance, and this is what I want, you know, this whole news section to be about. Is let's talk about the main topics that are at hand week to week, month to month, but let's open up the dialogue more. Let's look at the bigger picture. Let's look at the why behind the pain and the problems, because this stuff's always got, you know, papers like this will keep coming out, but it can have a very blinkered approach. The language they use can be very disempowering, very confusing, and when you work with people on a day-to-day basis, it's not helping, because it's just helping those who want to leverage this type of information and potentially keep people confused. And this is something that we have no interest in. We want to see people get results quickly, and to do that, you educate them on the bigger picture, things that are uncomfortable to talk about. Hey, you know, hey Jane, I need you to be going away and working on X, Y, and Z for the 3 times a week for the next 6 weeks, because if we can get you stronger here, that's going to allow you to land better, to proprioception better, to be able to coordinate better, and that's then going to translate into your running, and it's probably going to offset the load off your Achilles, and you'll be good to go. All right, so that's the narrative we want to be going. But interesting, guys, have a look at the research itself. I mean, research is fantastic. Now, don't get me wrong, we need research. We know coming from a sports science background, we have physio on staff. You know, we leverage research all the time, but the research has got to be significant, and we want it to come from large sample sizes of people. We want it to be well discussed and well reinforced. But then even then, the principles behind the research, we are then applying it to the man and woman or the person that we are looking to then work with. And so that's where the art of coaching comes in. And this is what I want you guys to have a better understanding of as you move forward. All right. So guys, sports science is going to be a strong part of what we do, because obviously this is where we can leverage the most results from quickly from our training. The more you understand about the sports science and approach of your training, the more logic you're going to be able to apply to your training. And that is going to be very dependent upon you. All right. So let me know your thoughts on that paper. Happy to have a good quality conversation around it. I'll definitely be checking the comments below. And yeah, it's a good one. So I thought it'd be great for us to answer a key question, problem, concern that is kind of going to be brought up recently within the endurance space. One thing I want to ask you guys, and this is something I really want to finish on today, is why don't we see more people warming up or preparing themselves when it comes to an event or a race? Whether you're doing a 5K, half marathon, half Ironman, ultra distance race, how many of you have a logical kind of routine that you're working through? And how many people do you, when you look around on the day, what's the percentage of people that are doing some form of progressive warm-up? I think we should be beyond just going for an easy run and shaking the legs out. I think we understand more than that. And if not, then doesn't it make more sense to be preparing yourself with a bit more logic? You know, what are your individual needs? Like what, and this is something I would love to hear your thoughts on, guys. Like whether you think you need to warm up, but essentially when it comes to your strength and conditioning, what is the lowest hanging fruit? Well, it's preparing your body for the work ahead, and that is essentially what we're always looking to do when it comes to your strength and conditioning. You know, whether it's your warm up, working on your maximal strength, working on your strength endurance, working on your plyometrics. Like it's always about just preparing your body for the work ahead, and the demands that people expect of their body are huge in some cases. Running their first 100K, running their first, doing their first Ironman. You know, these are huge demands on the body. And to not see people preparing their shoulders for the swim, preparing their lower back for the bike, preparing their joints for the, in terms of their plyometrics and A-skips for the run ahead. These are just basics that we'd like to think are installed in all of you, and you've probably read these types of drills. But certainly at SFE, we very much look to literally brainwash people to a certain degree, when we go, hey, look, these 3-5 exercises, never forget them, because these are the number 1 to 5 exercises that you can be doing. Performing 10 bodyweight squats, like doing some leg swings, doing some arm swings, bringing in some little bit of mini resistance band work, getting some knee hikes going, developing the hip flexors, engaging the core, engaging your glutes, like getting some low impact work going through your joints, your ankles, your knees, your hips. Guys, this stuff we want this to be rudimentary. We want this to be second nature to you. Because that's how you prevent injury, and that's how you get the most out of your body. Because in those moments when you're doing a warm-up, and this is a really, I feel like it's a very important point, when it comes to strength and conditioning, you are organising your body. We want, essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to tell your body what muscle groups you want to engage. You're going to bully them a little bit, but you're telling it to respond and to work with a little bit of quality in small little dosages, 10 reps, 15 reps, 20 reps. But the quality you want is to be high when you're working on your A-skips, bringing those knees up, head up, shoulders back, good extension. You're reinforcing those good coaching cues from before you even start, so that those movement patterns, are going to be there for you in the latter stages. That in itself, guys, is going to improve running economy, running efficiency, or movement efficiency in general. So, interested, guys. As always, just interested to know what your thoughts are around warm-ups. Like, why don't we see enough people doing it? The race organisers, could this be something that we just install a much better? Like, it's a non-negotiable that we have an official warm-up individual, someone who's going to come in and is going to deliver a quality warm-up progression for everyone. And it has to be beyond pogos, I wish. It has to be beyond high knees, star jumps, running on the spot, which is what I've seen at multiple different events over the years. And obviously, guys, I hope, I want you to, is tell me where it is being done well, because it has been done well. And don't get me wrong, we see great displays of people working with bands, resistance bands on the sidelines, ready for the race ahead. You see people doing great, but that's often because they've self-educated, they're quite methodical in their approach. But we want to change the narrative. We want to improve the narrative within this space. And as I said, strength conditioning, integrating it into the endurance sport, it's something that people have struggled to do over the decades. And this is something that we want to see more and more of. And there is no said perfect way, but certainly we want to see everyone do it, preparing themselves better, because it's a given that you are going to obviously make sure that you're going to be preventing injury, because you're going to go into it with more clarity, more confidence in your body, but you're also going to be more organised, and that is going to go a long way to preventing injury. All right, so love to hear your thoughts on that. Why don't we see more people warming up? Do you warm up yourself? What does your warm-up routine look like? Love to know, and leave that in the comments, and I would love to hear that. Thanks for joining me today, guys. Any of the topics we talked about, if you've got any comments, queries, etc., let us know in the comments below. Love to know what you're training for this year or next year. What does your training environment look like? Do you have a cool pain cave? Do you have a cool little gym setup? Love to champion strength and conditioning. So I love seeing people's kind of training setups, where they're working. I've seen great outdoor gyms, garage gyms, like little studios in the back garden. They're turning their living room into gyms. Like, I've seen it all, and I love it. So please feel free to send in any of those in. It'd be great to share those. But guys, as I said, moving forwards, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me and the team, and anything you want us to cover, let us know. But in the meantime, guys, have a great training week, and I'll speak to you soon.